The deadlift has been one of the mass builders for legs for years. But for a select group of people, actually most people, they can't actually do deadlifts. It hurts their lower back, it hurts their hips. When they do it, they slip a disc, they get an injury. So today's video is for any of you who can't do a deadlift, but you still want to grow your hamstrings and glutes. These are substitute exercises that you can do and get just as much, if not more growth when doing these exercises. Firstly, we have the 45-degree back extension, which I love for teaching the hip hinge movement. So there's lots of benefits here. Obviously, it builds the hamstrings and glutes like I promised, but it also helps you develop that movement pattern of the deadlifts or the hip hinge of pushing your butt back and then bringing your hips forward again. So this is the 45-degree back extension. I like to do it with a rounded back so that it turns off your lower back, switches on your hamstrings and glutes, turns on your abs too, because when a lot of people do this originally, they kind of come up and extend their back and that switches on your lower back and then that fatigues more than your hamstrings and glutes. So we slightly round our back here. Now with the setup, we want it to be at our hip height so that when we break here, it's at the hips. Now I like to squeeze my abs and kind of curl under, hands over your shoulders at first. And then all we're trying to do, what my physio told me once, pretend this is a chick or a guy, whatever you want to be, and pretend you're thrusting into them, you know what I mean? So, we come in here, and I'm driving my hips into the pad like that, keeping my back slightly rounded. I'm not like this. I'm slightly rounded, hips into the pad, and then I push my butt to the wall, going backwards like that, and I'm getting that deep stretch in my hamstrings here, and as I come up, I'm squeezing my glutes. Hips back, and then hips into the pad here. Now, I start with my hands here. If I want to make it harder, I can put my hands on my head, or I can even put my hands away. And then you can get into adding weight, holding dumbbells, but that's some few ways that you can advance this exercise if you want. Number 3 is the good morning. So this is quite similar to a Romanian deadlift, but we're not doing deadlifts in this video, all right? So this is how to build your hamstrings and glutes without doing deadlifts. But this is a very similar pattern. So we're doing the same thing as if we were doing a Romanian deadlift like this, but just the way that we load the bar is going to be on our back. But the same things are going to be true as if we're going to push our butt to the back wall, kind of push our knees back to straighten it, get that hamstring stretch here, and then we're coming back up. So with the weight on our back, instead of doing a standard high bar squat setup where the weight is on your traps, I actually want you to come further forward and put it on your rear delts like a low bar squat, because then it's closer to your hips and bending over with the weight is going to be less fatiguing on your lower back. So if we come out here, I take this stance here, I'm holding the weight, but I'm pushing my butt back here till my hamstrings have that deep stretch, and then I come and stand up like that. And what I like to do is pull the barbell down to make sure that it's not going to slip off when I'm at the bottom. So when I'm in this position here, I'm really pulling the bar down, because if I feel like I let go, it's going to roll forward like that. And then I'm coming back up. So with the good morning, it can feel a little bit funky on the wrists because you're doing the low bar setup. So what I do is I send my hands out wide so that it's easier for it to go lower. Because if my hands are super tight and I'm trying to push it all the way forward here, this feels like my wrists are going to snap. So I need to pull it all the way out here, and then that's going to feel much better for the setup. Number 3 is the seated leg curl. So this is pretty self-explanatory. The seated leg curl is isolating the hamstrings, because what we're doing here, let me get my foot out, is just bringing our heel to our butt. We're using our hamstrings to do so. With the setup, I would like, if I could, I can't with this machine setup here, or this type of machine, be quite upright, because that's going to give you a deeper stretch in the hamstrings here if I'm more upright. The thing is, I have to lean back to get my heels further back here to get more of a squeeze. So this kind of deep stretch doesn't really happen just with this machine. Anyway, so one thing that a lot of people don't actually do that I like to do is pull yourself down into the seat. That increases your stability. When your stability is higher, the ability for you to produce force is higher as well. So more stable equals more weight is a very simple equation that you can keep. So pulling yourself down and then hamstrings to your butt and then slow out. We go fast down and then slow out. That controlled eccentric is very important. Like that, and I like to keep my toes pointed up, also known as dorsiflexion. Last one, control, 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 and down. Number 4 is the Nordic curl. I programmed the reverse Nordic curl for quads, but the actual Nordic curl is when you're up on your knees like this and you need to have like a weight on your foot. So if you can wedge your feet under something, it's good. Or if you're training with someone, like I'm gonna get Dan to come and hold my feet down. But ultimately what we're doing is we're up like this, and if I was to float, I'm trying to lower myself down as slow as I can all the way down to the floor, and then I just come back up. So this is more like an eccentric Nordic curl, because the actual Nordic curl is going down, almost touching the ground and then coming back up. And that is reserved for people much stronger than me, body weight wise. So Dan, if you can grab my feet. So I'll try to show you a few reps. Ultimately, what we're trying to do is trying to go down as slow as possible, kind of like go like that. So you want to try keep the same speed as you fall down, because it's easier to go slow while you're upright, but harder to go slow when you're down there because there's more weight going down. So, and just keep your hands out in front, because or else you'll break your nose. See, I fall pretty fast because my hamstrings aren't that strong, and maybe I'm just too heavy and not strong. So slow, slow, slow. That's as slow as I can go. So I'll try and do like 2 more. It's a bit fast. Slow, slow. See, that is as slow as I can go. It kind of looks like I'm free falling, but I can feel that in my hamstrings, and that was only 4 reps. So I would maybe do 6 to 8 reps on that one. And then each week, ultimately, because this is such a beginner variation, I don't do this a lot. I can do leg curl, lying leg curl, and Romanian deadlifts and stuff. What you would try to do is actually just slow your time down. So for me, that was probably like 1 to 2 seconds on the way down. The next week, I'll try and aim for 1.5, 2.5, and then 3 seconds, and then 4 seconds, and then try and get like 5 seconds on my way down where I'm actually controlling it instead of just flopping down. And then one day, 6, 7, 8 seconds, whatever, and then trying to touch the ground and then come back up. That's the real kind of Nordic curl. The last exercise that you can do is called a hamstring walkout. This requires no exercise. I did this during the pandemic when I had no hamstring machine to train my legs, apart from the Romanian deadlift, which we're not doing in this video. So what we're doing is coming into a glute bridge like this, squeezing our glutes. I like to put my elbows out for a tripod to increase my stability. And then I'm just walking out my hamstrings like this on my heels as far as I can. I'm walking them out to about here, and then I'm bringing them back in, keeping my glutes up like that, and that's 1, and then I go again. And coming up, and that's 2. And ultimately you just keep going until you reach fatigue. Now this is a relatively easy exercise, I believe. It's more of a beginner exercise. If you want to step this up, I can't do it here on this floor, but I was doing it during the pandemic. You set up like this, but on some tiles. So I did this in the kitchen back at the old house. I would have bare feet, and I would have my feet on a towel, and I would come up, and then because it was on a towel, it would slide out like this, or I'll do it with my other foot. Both of my feet would slide out like that, and then I would dig my heels into the floor and pull, and then I would slide it back up. So that would act like a kind of like a lying leg curl machine or hamstring walkout machine. That was really effective, and that would be much harder than the walkout. Another great option for you. Let's talk about how we can use them in programming. So the 45-degree back extension, I like to use that as more of a finisher high rep exercise, just because in that position, you can do heavier weights, but it just doesn't feel as good, and it's much easier for your lower back to come in. So 3 times 10 to 20 body weight, or if you get a bit stronger, like I said, hands on head, hands out in front, and then you can start adding weight. If you want to be a real gangster, you can put your hands behind your head with dumbbells. That's very hard. That's actually called the prisoner back extension. Don't know why, but that's what it's called. Number 2, good morning. That is more of a compound exercise that I would do more towards the opening of a workout. So that would be an opener, 6 to 10. You can lift a bit heavier. If you're doing a bit more reps like that, because you're bent over severely when you're doing that exercise, it's a bit hard to breathe. And then you start to get a bit of fatigue because your lower back's involved. The bar can roll forward, or your wrist can get sore. So less reps. Seated leg curl, 6 to 10 as well. You can go really heavy with hamstrings. They're a very fast twitch dominant muscle. So you can train them heavier, and they get really good results like that with heavier weights. So once again, 3 times 6 to 10, but I will do that more the second, third exercise of the program. Nordic curls and hamstring walkouts, these are body weight exercises. So in terms of the rep range, I would just do as many reps as possible, and then week after week, every time you train them, just trying to increase it. So like I said with the Nordic curl, if you can only do like 6 reps that like look like belly flops like mine did, The first type of progressive overload is slowing the tempo. So you're still increasing that time under tension that the muscle's getting. And then you can look at increasing reps once you've done that, maybe adding weight, but that's, man, I think that's years down the track. Lastly, hamstring walkouts. Pretty easy exercise. So do as many as you can and then just try to beat it, try to beat it, try to beat it. And then if your gym has like a kind of lino area, you can try and throw in something like the towel exercise where your feet are pushing down into the towel, pushing it out, pushing it in. That's much harder. Your reps will go down, and then you can look at building that up as well. So these are the 5 exercises that I recommend doing if you can't do the deadlift to really help build up your hamstrings and your glutes. Obviously the seated leg curl, Nordic curl, hamstring walkouts, or actually these two are more kind of tailored towards just hamstrings, but these are hamstrings and glutes here, number 1, 2, and 5. If you want coaching and strategic and structured programming like this, I have 2 coaching options. Wow. Links in the description. I have Built by Brock, the monthly coaching subscription where the app has tailored programs for certain goals that you have and certain days of week that you can train. I run multiple challenges throughout the year, 8-week challenges. Winners get great prizes, so that's in the description as well. And on my website, and so is one-to-one premium online coaching where everything's tailored to you and it's me working with you directly as opposed to kind of this group coaching aspect of Built by Brock. Lastly, if you also want your calories done, you don't know how much to eat to lose weight, maintain weight, or gain weight, the link for that is in the description as well, free calorie calculator, and I'll see you in the next video.